Drahí priatelia, v dnešnej časti relácie Spojený oceánom opäť prejdeme do angličtiny. So I would like to welcome my very valued guest, Cynthia Maleski. Welcome in our show.
Thank you. Thank you, Annette.
And we're standing in front of a picture of a very, very important woman. And today it's going to be a kind of an exception. We're going to introduce the association first, and then we'll move on to the story, life story, and family history. But this is also a beautiful piece of history. Could you introduce it to us, please?
This is a photo of our foundress of the first Catholic Slovak Ladies Association, Anna Orban. Mm-hmm. She was a Slovak American immigrant who in 1892 founded with a band of 8 other ladies the first Catholic Slovak Ladies Association of the United States of America, mm-hmm. here in Cleveland, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And she did so because no other society would insure women at that time. So at the behest of a famous Slovak priest, Father Stefan Fordek, she founded our own society with those 8 women, and she's our foundress. And we found this painting, mm-hmm. in our basement, and now she's here in our 126 years in our boardroom today.
That's very amazing that you keep going back to your roots, because she started something that is fabulous nowadays, and you also would like to show us something that is part of your, so to say, life of this association. Mm-hmm. Could you introduce it to us, please?
Sure. We have a beautiful magazine we put out monthly. We have 113,000 members across the United States. We provide financial security to our members through life insurance and annuity products. But we also, very importantly, affirm the whole person through working with people in the communities in over 500 branches in the United States to affirm them in their work and in their social activities, and their spiritual needs in times of sickness, old age, and death for them and their families, and by upholding the Catholic faith mm-hmm. in our communities. Mm-hmm. And working in our branches, we actually build communities in the communities where our members live and work. Mm-hmm. They get a magazine every month. This is the Easter magazine. And it's just a beautiful touch. We're able to touch our members in so mm-hmm. many ways.
I think I can hold it because you're holding also something else. Okay. So would you introduce that too, please?
Sure. I'm holding our signature cookbook that was first done in the 1950s by our Slovak ladies. And this cookbook is still in print today. We still sell it at cost, just the cost of the printing. And so many people buy it for wedding gifts, for just a gift for their friend. It has some treasured recipes in it, from Velia suppers to Easter brunches to all of the nut roll recipes, everything in it that I'm sure the people in Slovakia still make so well.
I'm very sure too. So we should have hours and hours to talk about this beautiful association, the founder, and also the whole history and development. But I would like to interview you also about your personal life. Okay. So I think we can start walking. We can leave this here.
Yes, thank you.
And because your history goes back to Slovakia too.
Yes, absolutely.
So how did it all start? I think it
my great-grandfather, Joseph Rimar, mm-hmm. came here in 1890s mm-hmm. and worked in a coal mine in Connellsville, Pennsylvania. He died in that coal mine, leaving my baba in Stade, mm-hmm. Slovakia, now Slovakia. It was Austro-Hungarian Empire then. She married John Polochak in Czechoslovakia, and he came to this country in 1921 for a better life. And there was only enough money for one person to come, so Baba and their oldest son, Zoli, stayed in Slovakia until 1925 and came here to meet him. She came through New York on the Bremen. And
on the
then,
ship, I guess.
On a ship through Ellis Island, and then came to Pittsburgh, where my grandfather, my Zedzo, met her, and they lived in Harmerville. He worked in the coal mines for over 40 years, mostly in Harmerville, but in other coal mining camps around around the Western Pennsylvania area.
It's heartbreaking how many families back in those times were separated for many years, just like your grandparents.
Yes, they were separated.
But it's very good that they came back to be together in this country.
Yes.
But I'm sure that the beginning of their life here was very, very difficult.
It was very difficult. I'm very fortunate because I was able to hear the stories of my grandparents. They lived in coal mining camps. My mother was born in a barracks, in a mining barracks. They lived in a coal mining road house and had 13 boarders. They had 4 children. They lived with 2 bedrooms, and the boarders, who were Slovak, loved to live with them, and they slept downstairs, not pets, in the basement floors on mats. So it was a hard life. They were able to save a little money and make a life in this country for their families.
It's very fascinating to me that you mentioned that with them saving money in this country, they still didn't forget about their homeland.
No,
and they supported
no.
faith from behind the ocean.
Oh, no question about it. They did in so many ways. For the little money that they collected from their boarders, my Baba was able to save it. And she sent money back to Stade for many, many years, until she died, really, to keep the church going in Stade. She was very concerned, and so was Zedzo, because during communist times, the churches weren't allowed to be kept up. And she wanted to make sure that at least there was sufficient money so the priest could at least survive in Slovakia.
That's really amazing that they not only didn't forget, but they also did something very actively to, although I'm sure they struggled with money at the beginning.
Oh, they were very poor. They didn't have much of anything. My mother tells the stories where they weren't allowed to peel potatoes at all, and they ate the scraps of the potatoes to make sure that they ate everything that came their way. They didn't eat meat much, and they lived off the land. They had little gardens close to the river. They were very fortunate, though, because they remained true to their faith. And in the first instance, the masses were being held in the mining hall. And my Zedzo and a few other of the miners got together, petitioned the priest in Harmerville to be able to have a priest come and be a permanent priest there and have a church there. The petition was sent to the bishop, and my Zedzo was asked to lead an effort to found a little church in Harmerville, Pennsylvania, so that the Catholic faith could be kept up, and the coal miners and their families in these poor little communities could keep up their faith.
That's amazing what people that came to this country were willing to do to keep their faith. How much sacrifice there was from their side.
Yes.
And I know that there's a story that goes back to your family and building up a church here.
Well, as I said, my Zedzo was asked through a letter from the bishop to found this church. And he said to the priest, "How can I set up this church? It's the Depression. Nobody has any money. And I'm just a poor coal miner from Czechoslovakia." It was Czechoslovakia then. I can't even speak English. So they said, "You can do it." So what he did was he banded together with some of the other coal miners. They collected really, which was pennies, from everyone to set up a beautiful little church. A Capuchin Franciscan priest, a missionary priest, came in and served that community. We got to be good friends with him. The coal mining company gave the materials for the church. They built the church with their own hands. And it was the church where later my parents were married and I was baptized. And it's still there today.
It's very fascinating. When you mention your parents, before I ask you how they met, I want to ask about the grandparents from the other side of your family.
Okay. My other grandparents, my grandfather came from Poland. He escaped because the Russians were coming in and in 1916, and he wanted to have a free life in America. He met my grandmother here in this country. She was from the Silesian region of Poland, and she was Polish, but not all Polish. She had also some Slovak blood in her. And we don't know the whole story because she came over here when she was 4. And her parents both died by the time, one when she was 12 and one when she was 14. So at that time, she took over the support of the whole family and raised the rest of the brothers and sisters so they wouldn't be split apart, so the family could be together. And a few years later, my grandfather met her. He married her. He was poor. He was a coal miner as well, had nothing, and said, I will take all those kids in and support them to keep the family together.
What a
then
man
they had
of a character.
five kids of their own as well. So it was an enduring life, a very hard life, but they found their mission and their way to live in their faith.
So you mentioned faith. I think that must have been something that kept them going, right? Because
I think so.
Such a difficult life.
Yeah, I think that our Catholic faith gives us the framework, the moral reference point that we need into how to live. And it's really in our DNA. You know, our Catholic faith has been part of the Slovak people for so long that it's not just what we learn in our customs, in our traditions, but it's the faith, it's within us. And as my father always said, it's who we are. You will not find anything more, anything better in any other faith. It's just who we are.
It's a very important aspect of or way how to put it, because it's so different to say this is what we do, right? This is some of our traditions, this is some of our customs, but saying this is who we are, that's very strong.
That's very strong. It's our heritage. It's who we are for generations that was brought to us from some of the saints in the early days, St. Cyril and Methodius. It goes back many, many centuries, and it's just something that we are blessed to have. We are fortunate that our parents and our grandparents brought us this great legacy of our faith. So we have something to live by, and we're just not floating around saying, is this wrong or is this right? We have the compass provided to us. So it's a gift.
It's a huge gift, and it's a treasure, we could say.
Right. It's just absolutely a fabulous thing. Yeah.
And I'm very sure your grandparents on both sides gave this gift also to your parents.
They did. And my parents, you know, we were never people to kind of show our religion on our sleeves, so to speak. What we were mostly living our faith. My parents, from the first time they were married, lived out their faith. I was their firstborn. I saw the struggles they went through. You know, my father became, after he came back from World War II, he became a steel worker. And there were good times and bad times in the steel mills. There were lots of times he was out of work. We could have lost our home. But every time, you know, my parents went back to how we live. I mean, the things that were important in life. Vacations aren't the most important thing, or, you know, what kind of car you have, or do you have a car? It was always, are you with your family? Are you spending the right time with your family? Are you working hard? Are you taking care of people in your family? Are you visiting people that you need to visit, your other family members, so you get to learn about them, learn the traditions, learn the culture, learn their stories. That was always important in our family. And also, later, my parents really felt very strongly about getting us educated so we could have a better life here in this country for our families.
You mentioned to me some of the stories from your childhood, and I'm sure you have very many beautiful memories, but also what you mentioned was how your parents always told you that life is not always fair.
Oh, okay.
And that's a very strong advice, right?
Right. Oh, it's absolutely a great thing. Of course, we always have adversity in our lives. Everyone does. Everybody comes up with something, a roadblock, an obstacle, an illness, whatever it may be. And I used to say to my mother, I'd come home from school, and something happened at school and it didn't happen to the other person, and I was maybe chastised by a sister or by a nun, whatever, and I'd say, Mom, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. And my mother would say, well, maybe it's not fair, but life is that way. Life is not always fair. And by going through life and having this cross, you'll learn how to deal with it. You'll learn how to deal with it a little better. So my parents felt pretty strongly about that we were there to learn by these little obstacles that we found in the way.
That's what I would describe as a faith really lived. It's
Right.
so easy to have theoretical knowledge or to know theoretically what's right or wrong, but to embrace your own cross,
Right.
as your grandparents on both sides and parents did so many times.
Right.
That's a faith in
That
daily
is
life.
faith. Well, I can remember it many times, even as I was older. As an attorney, my mother would be there with me, working with me from time to time. And I would say, this isn't fair, Mom, or what? This person is making more money, or whatever the issue was. And she'd say, Cindy, how old are you now? Do I have to tell you again that life is not always fair? And that's why we're Catholic, because we all have a cross, and we follow the cross. And then something will move out of the way, and life will become clear again. So that's just the way life is. And so our faith provides us the tools, the framework that we need in both times of great joy, being able to climb the highest mountain, and in times when we have a stormy sea. That's what I say. And we were very lucky because our family was able to provide that to us.
We are also climbing a little bit this little mountain, so to say here.
Yeah, we're going back and forth many times here.
Yeah, we are, because we are going further in your life story, and the area where we are walking is connected to the association you just introduced very briefly at the beginning, so I would like to go back to it.
Okay.
Because it's also connected to embracing the cross. This association started the way that someone saw that people need help with their crosses in their lives.
Right. Every time there's some kind of a point in someone's life where they have to make a big decision, whether it be a birth of a child, a death of a person, they needed maybe some help, some aid, some support. And this is what the society is set up to do. Financial support for our members, financial security, but also emotional support, spiritual support, moral support, and then working through the communities where we live to help build those communities up where we have our branches. So our communities can be better because we're there to help them out, whether it's through the work in the church, our community, or a food bank, or a home for the elderly, whatever it may be, that the branch feels there's a need. So it's a great story, and it's a great history. We're thriving. We have a great, we have 113,000 members. We do business in 48 states in the District of Columbia. We have a very good financial history. We're able to provide the benefits we want to our families and our branches so they can go out there and work in the communities. You're walking on these great grounds that we have here in our new office. So we're just really proud of that the Slovak ladies have done all these years in the United States of America.
Of course, because you speak about communities, and our God himself is a community. It's a community, so it goes through our life stories and through our faith stories, so to say. And when we go back to that fascinating woman that started all of this, why was it important in those times to have fraternal associations like this?
Well, because first of all, the immigrant people were not part of the fabric of American life, and they didn't have the supports that the people who came earlier did. They didn't have enough funds to even bury a person, a funeral. So that is why we were set up in the first place, so that the Slovak immigrant who came in would not be on a lower level than the other people in the United States. Anna Urban and her sisters did not want Slovak American women, immigrant ladies, to be scorned. and put down because they didn't have the things, the supports that the others did. And then also to provide a way that our people could help others in the community, a mutual aid system, so to speak.
That's very, very good that there were people brave enough to start activities like this. And I bet she had no idea it's going to grow into this kind of dimension.
No, but she was a visionary. The first convention she had, the same year, by the way, in 1892, she called forth delegates from not only Cleveland, but Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Yonkers, New York, Minnesota, and Indiana. I mean, that's a visionary woman in 1892 to say, I'm not going to just be about my little part of the world. I'm going to include others. And because of that, we had a national imprint from the very beginning. That's part of the key. And she was a courageous woman. So sometimes in life, within our own constraints, we have to take risks, good risks, to help other people. And that's what life's all about. Just, coming to that fork of the road, assessing the issue and saying, where can I do the best good? Where can I help people the most? When can I help the common good as much as I can?
I'm sure these are the questions that you also, as a national president of this association, ask yourself many times through everything
all the time.
You do.
Everything we do and everything I bring to our board to do, I want to know, is this going to move us forward to the next generation? And this is why I, decided to be part of this great mission that you have to bring this word forward, to bring this story forward to the people in the land where I came from, and I still keep in touch with my relatives there. That's what we do. We try to continue to connect with people,
So that's one of my last questions is how you connect to Slovakia these days. How often do you go there? What do you like there?
I don't go there as much as I would like to because I'm so committed to this organization and it's all of its duties. It's very time consuming. But I have family in eastern Slovakia, in Stade and Oreske, little towns. And I do keep in touch with them. We call them from time to time. The last time I was there was 2008, but not in Stade. I was in Bratislava and met the American ambassador over there on a trip. So we try to keep our connections there, send them gifts, send them cards, making sure that we keep up to date with the doings in the family there. And truthfully, the people in Stade are my family. They're just beautiful people. They have a strong faith. We're very fortunate that they've been able to keep their faith very strong too. The family has been able to do that. They have strong family ties, and we're lucky we're able to connect with them.
Connection is very, very important. What would you say after all these years and all the roots and experience and connections that is the treasure of us as people?
The Slovak people? Well, I think this strength of purpose, this strength of character and of courage and of willingness to keep persevering and deal with adversity, because the Slovak people have been dealing with adversity from time immemorial. And just this ability to do this without losing faith in God, without losing faith in family, and be able to survive and thrive. Now look, Slovakia now is an independent country. That's wonderful. And the people there live, by my estimation, what I know, a good life and have a lot of hope for the future.
And hope is so important, and your association brings hope to many people. And you, by accepting our invitation to talk about it in front of our cameras, also will bring a lot of hope to people who are going to watch this. So I want to thank you very much for this.
Thank you. Ďakujem pekne for coming and visiting us.
Very nice.
We enjoyed it very much.
We enjoyed it very much too, and I'm very sure you enjoyed it too. Veríme, že sme vám priniesli veľa povzbudenia a lúčime sa s vami z Clevelandu.